Hello. So today I'm sitting in our duck enclosure where Patsy lives. Lentil, the one-legged chicken, also lives here, as does Astrid, Dorothy and Jen. Although Jen hops in and out of this enclosure into the main garden. I'm not sure if we'll see our friends today. They're all in front of me right now. So I've just given them some greens because Patsy loves to have some greens. But the reason I'm in here is because earlier today Patsy managed to get out of this enclosure, which is not the end of the world because she does like to spend some time with Levi. But the reason that she's in this netted area is because she's so good at flying. And by the time I'd seen her from inside the house and got out, she'd actually flown onto the roof at the very highest spot of the roof. And I went in to tell David to get his help, and then by the time I was out she'd left that spot, and I just saw this kind of shadow against one of the neighbours' houses. I didn't see her, I just saw her shadow as she flew. Anyway, it was really worrying because even though I know she wouldn't go too far, it's, you know, it's other people's animals, other people's dogs, and it's just not safe. So I ended up finding her just in the neighbour's garden. I had to go and knock and asked to go and get her, and they were very nice, luckily. But yeah, there she was enjoying their grass. So now I'm in her enclosure with her. She had to go in a carrier for a bit whilst I tried to fix it up, and I'm just keeping an eye to see if there's any gaps that I've missed, and so that I can fix them too. Jen was in the main garden, but she's come back in to see us, so you might see her. She's just pecking at my knee at the moment. So it was a bit of a stressful morning. I also found out some information from those neighbours who were nice about some other things that were upsetting. So one, we have these two cats in the garden. We have Dylan, our gorgeous cat, and then we have two cats who I've named TK and Finn, and they're both hunters, unfortunately. And TK is a big black fluffy cat. He's very friendly, but he always chases Dylan, and he's definitely a hunter. And the neighbours told me that he doesn't have a human. I assumed someone in this street was looking after him, but apparently not. So he's essentially just trying to live out here on his own. And apparently, there's Jen. And apparently the wild rabbit population down on the road, there used to be about 10 or so, and now there's only one because of TK killing them. So it's really upsetting because I was always like, why don't these people keep TK in at night? Because he's a hunter. But it's because TK is trying to eat, you know? It's not his fault. Someone at some point has dumped him, probably years ago. So yeah, I feel really bad for him and the wildlife. And then they also told me that, because we rented this house because it had a chicken coop. So we knew they'd be okay with chickens. Although obviously we can't be fully honest about what we're doing. And they had 3 chickens before, and we knew this, and I assumed they'd rehomed them. But the neighbours said, oh, it was so sad, like if we had known that it would be someone like you that had come in, they wouldn't have had to put the chickens down. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, they loved them so much, but then they were moving to an apartment in the city, so they had to have the chickens put down. They couldn't find a home for them. And I just couldn't, like, 3 hens. Honestly, I think they're fairly easy to find a home for. I bet it was because they were old girls, so they weren't laying, that people wouldn't take them. And it was just so upsetting because, yes, they could have stayed here. And it just highlighted again the way even people who we would think of as lovely in other ways would kind of treat chickens. So I found that really upsetting. I'm definitely feeling down today. A mixture of that and just seeing stuff again on social media, like with a group of activists went to Picton slaughterhouse to do a vigil. Good on them. I think it's really important to do whatever activism feels right for you. I find it incredibly frustrating to be faced with animals that I can't save, and there's very strict kind of rules on being peaceful and following animal safe guidelines, which, whilst I'm not saying I won't go to them in the future, I just really, like, everything in me fights that. Like, I just want to run in and save those animals. And just seeing, because they do private kills at this slaughterhouse, so they'll do, say you just had 1 sheep that you wanted to be killed, they'll do that. So just seeing this image of 2 sheep being brought in a trailer, it's just so upsetting. And again, I just don't understand how this is the normal thing. But today I thought I'd tell you a bit about my weekend and how it highlights again the need for our Hen Haven. So firstly today I'd say, like, we need this duck enclosure. Like, Patsy's out of shot now, everyone's having a preen behind me. I could try and turn the camera, but I'm not sure it'll work. They're all preening. I wonder if it will. Let's see. So we've got more chance of seeing some girls in the background now I've angled it. So yes, I think, so you can see how we've got net in this enclosure, and the cockatoos can so easily tear through it with their beaks to get to the chicken food. Well, we're going to have strong galvanized wire in a new place. Firstly, because to protect from foxes, there's not that issue here. But saying that, I'm always very careful at night. I always assume there's foxes around, even though I've never seen any evidence of them. But in rural properties, you have to be careful in the day as well. And a net like this just wouldn't do anything. Like, cockatoos can get through it, foxes would be able to get through it. It needs to be that galvanized chicken wire, really strong stuff, and that would make sure that Patsy stayed safe as well. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is the whole experience at the weekend kind of just reminded me why we need the Hen Haven so bad. So we had someone contact us, I mentioned in a previous video, about a chicken they'd seen in a McDonald's car park in Rose Hill near Parramatta. And this person was really nice and concerned, and they'd gone in and they'd asked the staff, and they said, yes, that chicken's here a lot. And they'd laughed, the staff had found it hilarious, and they called the RSPCA, and the RSPCA said it wasn't their issue, and they'd given them our contact details, and then also the council was closed for the weekend. So the next day I went with Charlize, our micro sanctuary carer, to go and see if we could find this chicken. And we started off by having a look, couldn't see him anywhere. I mean, I was presuming he was a rooster just because they're the ones that are usually dumped. And we asked in McDonald's, we asked in KFC next door, and they said, yep, there's been a black chicken hanging around. And so we started to search all around, looking in all the bushes and everything. And then we went a bit further back, and behind, like, there's a Woolworths car park as well, and then behind that there's a quiet road, because the McDonald's is surrounded by busy roads. And on this quiet road, it's kind of like a dead-end street, and there's some old stables, because it used to be where the racetrack horses were held. And as soon as we got onto the street, we see two rabbits on the side of the street, and started walking down towards them to see if they were wild or if they were domestic. And there were two drunk guys sitting on a wall, and so we thought we'd ask them about the rabbits, and they're like, oh yeah, they're always there, they've been there for like 18 months and they hop in and out. So it's one of those situations where it's like the rabbits are almost wild at that point, and it's hard to know what to do. And we started to ask them about the chicken, and then the guys, who were called Greg and Craig, were like, oh yeah, we started all this chicken stuff in this street, and they were like really proud of it. And it was mainly Greg, I think, doing the talking, and he was like, yeah, we got like 500 chooks from an old egg farm, and they were going to be killed, but we rescued them. And he was kind of really talking about it like this. I was like, oh wow, that's really similar to what we do. And he's like, yeah, we had them in the stables, and they were walking all over the street, and they were going into the McDonald's. I was like, oh, okay, they're not really protecting them, but okay, good effort nonetheless. And then they were like, and then, you know, we got people dump roosters here, and then they were hatching chicks, and the chicks were going across the road, and I'm like, oh no. And obviously these people were drunk, and I'm just trying to get information from them. It's not the time or the place to kind of be going in deep into things, but they kind of pointed us in the right direction, and they said the council had come and netted most of the population of chickens, which they found quite amusing, but I think must have been horrific and terrifying for the chickens. And then I can only imagine what happened to them, but certainly the roosters would have been put down, would have been killed. That's simply how it works. And then we went to see if we could find this one stray chicken, and we knocked on a couple of doors, and we ended up finding about 10. We found about 10 chickens. They were mostly roosters. I think there might have been a couple of hens in there. And they were going through the backs of people's gardens that weren't fenced in between. So it was really hard. I'd gone there prepared to rescue one rooster, and then we were confronted with at least 10. And I didn't actually have anywhere to put one. He would have had to live in the house until I found him a home. So having 10 wasn't an option. And so I also couldn't access the people's back gardens. And there was some talk about someone owning the chickens, like, but there was no boundary for them, and there were units going up everywhere where it had previously been more rural. So they're going to get complaints. So me and Charlize had like a big think about it. Like, what can we do? We can't get them today. Like, they were so skittish that you'd step near them and they go scooting off. They were really good at flying. And what it comes down to really is that we have to contact the Parramatta Council and say, if you get complaints about these roosters and you're planning to kill them, can you contact us instead so that we can rescue them? Because then if we have permission to go, we can get these boys and girls, get homes lined up and get them to safety, and also to stop them keep hatching chicks. Because this is the thing, like Greg and Craig were telling us all about, oh, you know, him down the road, he's hatching all these, oh, he'll give you some roosters, you know, like that, kind of as if he's doing us a favour. And it seemed like it's a real issue in this street. It certainly got me thinking a lot. Like, we saw a cat who I don't know if anybody was their human, like, so a cat, 2 rabbits and around 10 chickens just in this one dead-end street. And it was certainly like, you're thinking, how can this issue be resolved? Because it's not just a matter of rescuing these animals, it's also about more not coming in for the exact same reason, doing it in the exact same position. So it was really, I guess, confronting, and just, it kind of really made us think. And bear in mind, we're at McDonald's and KFC. The smell of dead chicken flesh is everywhere. People are coming in, gobbling up all of these poor animals. We're also trying to save these ones. And it was just so confronting. It's like, people generally don't care. People who are trying to even do good things, you know, I don't know what they were aiming for, these guys, whether they were going to make some money out of eggs or what. But it wasn't a rescue, because if they were continuing to hatch eggs. So it was just a really odd weekend. Certainly if we had the Hen Haven, we probably still would have had to go back a second time, because we didn't have all the information the first, but we would have had somewhere that we could at least put the boys. Like, right now there's just no option. I'm not going to be contacting anyone who's going to kill them. They're better off where they are. At least they're surviving. It's only if the council come and say, right, we're netting them again, we're going to put them down, then I want to be able to be involved so that we can get in and rescue them. But yeah, it's definitely was a strange weekend. And even the way people react to you when you're out, and I'm wearing my hen rescue t-shirt and just trying to rescue a chicken, the way that it's a joke. Not to everyone, like even some of the staff members didn't laugh, you know, but it's just, yeah, it's just a strange thing, isn't it, Jen? Hello, gorgeous. So yeah, the fundraising side of things has stalled a little bit, and as I've said to others, I do not want to take away from what we've done. Like, I do believe we're going to get to 50,000 soonish, which will be another video, which will be a third of the way, which will be amazing. But it certainly feels like a hard slog right now, and these things keep coming up, which makes me think, I just want it to happen now so we can save these animals. And I still just can't get my head around what we're doing to them every day. It's baffling. So anyway, I just wanted to fill you in on that, and how the Hen Haven itself will be a place where, when we have emergency situations, we can act. Like if we looked at Lakesland from a couple of years ago, where we were trying to rescue many hens who were being starved and dehydrated to death, we were very reliant on foster carers, and it was hard. It was really hard, combined with the authorities standing in the way of the rescue. So many things. But to have one place where those chickens could come back to, it would be amazing. It would take off so much stress. It would make less travel for the chickens. It would mean we could check their their vet issues and everything. So just again, it's kind of reinforcing the idea that yes, we need this, we need it to make this happen, and chickens need this in New South Wales and Australia. And when we help chickens, we're going to help people see other animals another way, in a kinder way as well. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, listening to me ramble on. There were just a couple of things I needed to get off my chest there. And I really appreciate your support, and I will see you tomorrow.